Kiwatinowi Ukimakana.
Good afternoon. The NGO Manitoba Kiwatinowi Ogimaganuk recommends that the Special Rapporteur, the expert mechanism, and the permanent forum call upon member states to engage in a process of collaborative co-development with Indigenous peoples to develop provisions to be incorporated into trade agreements, to ensure protection for the treaty obligations of member states to Indigenous peoples, and to incorporate protection for human rights and the principles of the Declaration. We echo the concerns expressed by the Secretary General that our world is in a whirlwind, and by the President of ECOSOC about the new global disorder, and that Indigenous peoples are particularly vulnerable to this growing instability. Member states are responding to the increasingly widespread global disorder by prioritizing measures to stabilize, enhance, and protect national security, to respond to emerging issues affecting international, regional, internal trade, and to take steps to secure national economic stability. Member states may deprioritize reconciliation with Indigenous peoples generally, as well as to reduce ambition to develop and apply state and regional measures to recognize and implement the principles of the Declaration. We observe that New Zealand took steps to protect its treaty obligations to Maori pursuant to the Treaty of Waitangi in the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. This free trade agreement involves 12 economies across the Pacific and beyond, including New Zealand, Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, Peru, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and Vietnam. Canada has not protected its treaty obligations to Indigenous peoples in the terms of Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is despite the very similar treaty-making policies of the United Kingdom regarding the Indigenous peoples in New Zealand and in Canada, and despite being called upon by our NGO and by First Nations in Canada to do so. Canada's Constitution Act provides the existing Aboriginal and treaty rights of Aboriginal peoples of Canada are hereby recognized and affirmed. Canada's law to implement the Declaration requires that governments of Canada must, in consultation and cooperation with Indigenous peoples, take all measures necessary to ensure that the laws of Canada are consistent with the Declaration. The laws of Canada govern the making of international treaties and free trade agreements. Canada is therefore constitutionally and statutorily obligated to protect Canada's treaty obligations to Indigenous peoples and to incorporate the principles of the Declaration in all trade agreements to which Canada is a party. We recommend that the Special Rapporteur Expert Mechanism and Permanent Forum collaboratively conduct a broad thematic study of means to ensure trade agreements are protecting Indigenous rights.
I thank the representative of Manitoba Kiwatinowi Ukimakana for their statement. I now call